But generation after generation has sought to make this a more perfect union. Generation after generation has sought to further the country, to further the nation into living out that ideal that people had over 200 years ago. And I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts about that with you tonight to see how you add to the coming into manifestation the ideals behind the Declaration of Independence. Well, again, my name is Daryl Arnez, and I am with freedomcreation.net, and it's good to be with you this evening. I do want to make a couple of announcements before I begin. As I had been mentioning, able to expand to different platforms, of course, HAPS being one of the more recent ones, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope. And the latest addition that we actually created a Vimeo channel. And I'll be talking about that as the weeks go by. And there are going to be some very special things that we're going to be doing via the Vimeo channel. However, I do want to also make mention that we have also been enabled to put our conversations on both Roku and Amazon Fire. So as of, I believe they said it would be about Tuesday before everything is published on Roku. And it will probably be a little later in the week that things are actually published to Amazon Fire. But I do want to just mention that you will be able to watch Freedom Creation on both Roku and Amazon Fire. So we're moving things along quite well. So we will not only be making our presence known via internet, but we will also be making our presence known via television as well. And so I'm just excited about the things that I'm seeing happening with Freedom Creation. And for those of you who have been supporting the work, I am so thankful for you. I pray for you all of the time. I know that the Father is going to increase the seeds that you're sowing. And I want to assure you, for those of you who are making a financial commitment and a financial investment in this work, that your resources are going to support and further the work, not to support and further my lifestyle. Okay. I just thought that was important to mention because I know a lot of times people are reluctant to support different works of this nature because of so much of the misuse of funds that has taken place with similar works. And so I just want to make mention of that to you. Greetings in California. And again, greetings to everybody that's coming in on all of the different various networks. I welcome you all to Freedom Creation. And what I want to talk about tonight briefly is I just want to share some thoughts about the Declaration. I don't know if you've ever read the document recently. I know that we all had to read it when we were in schools of different kinds, but to go back and to read the document now and to really try to get an idea, try to get an understanding of what was it that in the birth of this nation, what was it that people were pushing for? One of the things that I recently was reminded is that when we think about the Boston Massacre, the Bloody War, it was interesting that Crispus Attucks, a freed son of Africa, was actually the first person to die to spark the revolt that ended up turning into a major war here in the Americas. And so there's contributions that every ethnic group has made to this nation. I know oftentimes when we look at the checkered past of the nation, we are reluctant to acknowledge the contribution of certain groups. But it's interesting. America has always been a melting pot. America has always been a place where people from different walks of life, people from different backgrounds, people from different geographic regions of the world could really come and experience freedom, could really come and experience liberty. And again, I know that when we look out at our world today, it may seem as though we've gone backwards, but we really haven't. We really haven't. But I want to read kind of the first paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, and then really the first major clause that was included, and it reads, um, "When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them." This is a very powerful statement. It really lays out not just the independence of the Americas, but it really speaks to the history of nations, of countries since the beginning of time. There has always been times in the course of human history where people would have to separate from the control of another people because of their God-given rights. Now, and I want you to get this, because no, it says to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. So now we're literally talking about the God-given right of peoples to pursue what it is in their heart, which has been placed in their heart by the Creator. And anything that imposes or impinges upon that right will of necessity declare a separation. Stay with me. Because it goes on, and this is the thing that I really want to focus on tonight. And this is what they said. "We hold these truths to be self-evident." And I'm going to come back and talk about this. That all men, that would be male and female, this is mankind. That all of mankind, all humankind are created equal. Now, I want to come back to this because I want to see if we are really individually celebrating our independence and what it truly means to us as individuals. "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal." And this is essential to understand. "And that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." We hold these truths to be self-evident. Now, this is a powerful statement, Because this is a truth that doesn't need to be debated. This is a truth that doesn't need to be legislated. This is a truth that to any reasonable person, it should be self evident. Now, what separates us largely are our beliefs, our values, our culture, all of these things. These are the things that tend to separate and divide people. But we hold these truths to be self evident that all humanity has been created equal. There is no individual on the face of the earth who has more potential, who has more ingenuity, who has more inspiration, who has more access than any other person. Now, politics and some of these things can interfere with the process, but when you, as an individual, recognize this truth, this is what literally causes you to step up and not only declare your independence, but to walk in it. Do you think that the colonists would just simply sit back and allow the British to let them have their independence? That's what the war was about, because you had a people who understood that there were things infringing on their independence, and they were ready not only to fight for it, they were really ready to die for it. How ready, and I'm asking this in a metaphorical sense, how ready are you to die for what you believe? Now, I'm not talking about becoming a martyr. I'm talking about having a commitment to your core value. How willing are you to die for it? How willing are you to be ostracized? How willing are you to stand apart to that degree that you will stand for what you believe, regardless of who else believes it or doesn't believe it? This is what the war for independence was really all about. Now, we're blessed because we're living on the other side of the war of independence. So it's easy for us to go out and buy a flag and get some hot dogs and grill and go watch the fireworks and celebrate. But we may not really understand what price was paid for us as individuals to come to understand our divine rights. And this is literally what it's getting into. It's our divine rights. Okay? So he says, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not only are these rights and have these rights been endowed to us, they are ours by divine inheritance. You have the right to live the life of your dreams. You have the right to pursue whatever it is in life you would like to pursue. You have the right to do that. But these rights are largely resident within the inside of every human being. These are certain unalienable rights that we have been endowed with. The very fact that you were born, The very fact that you were born evidences these inalienable rights that you have received by divine permission. How much of your independence are you willing to take responsibility for? This gets into your career. This gets into your family. This gets into every fabric of your existence. And far too often, what happens is we as individuals, we as people, we allow outside forces to govern and to dictate our life, our liberty, and our pursuit of happiness. You can achieve your dreams. You can live the life of your desire. No one, and I do mean no one and no institution, can stop the person who has committed to themselves that they're going to live their life to the fullest. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. The Creator himself will not interfere with your inalienable rights. The Creator himself will not interfere with your own will, whatever it is that you are willing in life to do, whatever you are willing in life to be, whatever you are willing in your life to pursue, the Creator himself will not impinge on that right. Many times in faith communities, it's referred to as free will. You have free will. What is that free will? Your free will is your divine birthright that says you have been endowed by your Creator to live at the max. I don't know any other way to put it, but to live your life to the max. Whatever your dream is, be willing to be committed to it. If you are the only one committed to it, be willing to commit to it. One area, and I told myself I wasn't going to bring this into the equation, but because the faith community is so dear in my heart, it's difficult for me to talk about independence and liberty and not go into this. Jesus made this statement. He said, "You will know the truth if you continue in my word. Then are you my disciples? You're my followers. You're my students. And you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." He said, "I've come that you might have life, and that you might have that life more abundantly." I have come that you might have life, and that you might have that life more abundantly. And then he says, you'll know the truth, and the truth will make you free. I'm often amazed at how so many people of faith are not living lives of freedom. Now, we're celebrating Independence Day, but how many people in the faith community do not exercise their unalienable rights? One of the things that the early people of faith that came to the Americas, one of the things that propelled them to come is they wanted a place where they could worship. Now, listen, where they could worship God according to their own dictates, according to their own conscience. And this goes as far as to say people who deny the existence of God have the right. Now y'all stay y'all stay with me now. They actually have the right to not believe in God. If it violates their conscience, they have the right not to believe in God. If people who have been raised in other cultures and their understanding of the divine is different than has been taught and preached in the Americas, they have the right to worship God according to the dictates of their own conscience. And I think sometimes we forget that. And so we want to judge people of different faiths. We don't want to engage them. We don't want to enter in a conversation. We just want to dismiss them, not understanding that we are literally violating their rights. People have the right to not believe in God. People have the right to question whether God exists. It doesn't make the creator nervous because part of his creation doesn't acknowledge God's existence. That doesn't shake God up. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. He doesn't have an identity crisis, right? But they have that right. They have that option. If people believe that it is the will of God that they live healthy, wealthy, and wise, that is part of their divine right. If people believe that God requires them to struggle, that God requires them to be sick so that they can, so he can teach them something, and that is what they are convicted in their heart about, they have that right to believe that. What none of us have the right to do, and I have to catch myself on this. Blessings, Pam. I have to catch myself on this. None of us have the right to impose our beliefs on anybody else. See, we hold these truths. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, among which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Note, it doesn't say all Christians are created equal and are endowed with their creator. It says all men, all humanity has been endowed by their creator. And this is one of the things that has happened. But when many people from the faith community came to the Americas, the reason that they came, as this is what we were talking about, I went down a rabbit trail. They came because they wanted to be in a place where they could worship God according to the dictates of their own conscience. They did not want to live in a nation that was ruled by a king, and they didn't want to be part of a church that was ruled by a pope, because they understood that when it comes to an individual's relationship with their creator, there are certain inalienable rights that no one has the right to try to govern over. But far too frequently, this is what we have seen happen within the body of Christ. So wherein we talk about the celebration of liberty, many times within our own institutions and within our own realms of dogma, tradition, and doctrine, we're doing the exact opposite. So we're not allowing people to come to understand their relationship with their creator by the creator's self-revelation to them, because we're busy trying to teach them. We're busy trying to teach them our understanding of God. But we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. And what has happened, from a desire to come and to be in a place where people could worship God according to the dictates of their own conscience. And there were different and various groups that came about, right? Puritans, the Pilgrims, a lot of Baptists came. And over time, over time, systems were built, religious systems were built that sought to control what people's experience of their creator actually was. And it has continued on, and these systems still function. The challenge is it can cripple people's independence. I hope this is making sense. It can literally cripple people's independence. So people will no longer explore their connection to their creator internally. People will no longer explore their God-given potential. People will no longer explore the reality of the presence of their creator with them always abiding. They've begun to rely on outside forces and outside people to dictate what that relationship is. We often refer to it today as the ministry. And so we have the apostle, the prophet, the evangelist, the pastor, and the teacher, who somehow has been led to believe that we have some type of special connection to the creator that other people don't have. So we feel as though we have to tell people what God is doing, what God is saying, what God, how God is leading them. That violates the very principle of our creation. You say, what do you mean, Daryl? All men are created equal. There is no special class of people in the creation, and there is no special class of people in the church. Now, I know that's going to go across the grain, but it's true anyhow. All men are created equal, and they are endowed by their creator. Now, we don't all have the same function. We don't all have the same purpose in life, but we are all created equal, which means we have equal access. First and foremost, we have equal access to the voice of our creator. See, God is not some far off, distant being somewhere sitting on the throne. God is a spirit. God is everywhere present simultaneously. That means at the same time. God is everywhere present at the same time. The allness of God is present everywhere. So it's not like a part of God is over here and a part of God is over there and a part of God is over there. God is one. The allness of God is ever present. This is just the magnitude of the creator. Since he is everywhere present and we are all created equal, we all have equal access to his presence anytime, anywhere. However, if people are led to believe that they are not equal. This is why I say, are we really celebrating our independence? Because this means that wherever they're at any time, they have access to their creator. He's everywhere present. And no person has more access. God is a spirit. No person has more access to the spirit than any other person. The difference becomes in the person's commitment to their own independence, their own commitment to life, to liberty, and to the pursuit of happiness. So you don't have to have systems validate you. You don't have to have other people validate you. They're just people, just like you. They're just people. And this really goes across the grain of so much that has happened in religious systems. And when you think about the place that faith held in the battle of independence, being the conscience of being that voice that said to all men, you are no better than nor less than any other person. The difference is the commitment the person has to live out their independence. And this has been lost within the faith community. It's really troubling. It's literally been lost. So people are waiting for other people to tell them what God said. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And this being created equal is a powerhouse. That's why I asked, have we read the Declaration of Independence lately? Because it's a powerhouse document. All men are created equal. There is no person better than or less than any other person. This was self-evident to them. Is it self-evident to us, though? Is it self-evident to you that you can achieve just as much as anybody else? If one person was able to create something that literally revolutionized the way life was lived, if one person could come up and understand the development of electricity, if one person could come up and understand mass transportation, mass production, if one person could come up with creative ideas like that, why can't you? Why can't you? The reason many people don't is because they allow outside forces to govern and dictate to them how much independence they will actually experience. These are some faults for Independence Day. This goes beyond the fireworks, the hot dogs, the barbecues. It goes beyond all of that. This goes to the core of how serious do you take the issue of your independence? How seriously do you take the issue of your independence? Never allow anyone to set limits on your life. Never allow that. The next area that we should be concerned about is not setting limits on ourselves. Since you've been endowed by your creator with certain inalienable rights, don't set limits on yourself based on your age, your ethnicity, your educational level, your economic status. Do not set limits on yourself, because once you set limits on yourself, You could literally be set free externally, but you have just put yourself back into bondage. And this is one of the other issues. So never allow systems to govern you. This is what caused the birth of or the creation, let me say that, of the United States, was the refusal to allow other governments to dictate to them how they would live their life from day to day. That's the very seeds of our independence. So I'm simply asking that you not allow outside institutions, government systems to govern over you and dictate over you in 2021. Don't allow anyone to deprive you of your inalienable rights. Is it challenging? Yes. Is it easy? Not really, because one of the challenges of our nation is that we've built a culture in which conformity has become king. So the idea is just conform to the culture. Find out what your station in life is. Find out what you want to do for 50 or 60 years before you retire, and then you retire, because that's the American way. No, that's not the American way. The American way is the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the American way. The American way is to find a need and fill it. That is the American way. But if we let those freedoms go, we may be free from external tyranny, but we as a nation have just put ourselves into captivity because we want everything to be as it always has been. Never allow anything or anybody violate the inalienable rights that you have been endowed with by your Creator. Never allow that to happen.